Good evening all from G8GKQ. Get rid of all the echoes. Welcome to the BATC Thursday evening net. Put up an initial order there. I'm going to add Gareth, G4XAT, Keith and Colin to it. So good to see you all on tonight. Not a lot to announce. Don't forget the next activity weekend after our successes last weekend is on the 9th and 10th of April. And that'll be 70 SEMs and 23 SEMs. The main activity this week has been finishing off stuff for CQTV, which is going together as we speak. So without further ado, I'll put it round to Mike and I'll type up the rest of the order shortly. G0MJW and the BATC Net G8GKQ.
Thank you, Dave. Just putting a little bit more power on there in case Tim's having problems with the rain and what have you. We had some pretty torrential rain over the last few days here. Well, yesterday particularly, it rained all day. Not sure where all the water went, but it rolled off the hillside here and went down to wherever it goes. So just a few things really from me today. There's not a lot new, I'm afraid. But I have done some disassembly work, so I'll just briefly talk about that. First of all, the bench camera. So hopefully you can see that. Incidentally, the lip sync from my image has changed from minus 400 milliseconds to 0, so I don't know what's going on. It might be wrong. Anyway, that is the palette out of one of these DVB-T transmitters. It's one of 4 of that type, and there's another 8 of another type, and very, very similar, the difference being that the chip is soldered onto a little copper heat spreader. Let me just show you its other side. Pretty small, really. And I think those can be used as is, bolted to an aluminium heatsink. So next task will be to try doing that with a pair of those, and maybe combine them to make a 200 watt amplifier. So that's the task. And just to show you what they came off, this is the remains of the shell that they were on. That is a lump of aluminium with copper pipe in it, and we don't know how they got the copper pipe in it. The only way I think they could have got the copper pipe in it is to cast the whole thing around the copper pipe and then machine it. So I think that's what they did, and that was Gareth's conclusion. The other thing is it had a water cooling system, and that was what that other item was on the image I showed you just now. It's a standard pipe fitting, which is great. So I've ordered one that goes with the 8mm pipe that's used for PC cooling. So if I want to repurpose this thing, this big block, I should be able to. And it really is quite large, and it weighs a lot. So it's got space for 12 pallets on it. I don't think we'll be using it like that, and it seems a pity to cut it up. So I think it may be just used as a test piece, I don't know. And next to that, if I move the camera around a bit, zoom in a bit as well. Whoops. So here's one of Jim's pallets that I was testing. Actually, I don't need that anymore. If anyone's looking for a pallet, I've got one that I don't need. But in this box here are all the bits that came off the board, well, the useful bits, the RF bits. There are some other bits as well. And these, they're wrapped up in tin foil because the source is not grounded apart from via the heatsink. So I've got all those in there, and above them, that thing on top of the box is the combiner, or the splitter, I guess, for the first size, because that goes on the input. So I think if we could work out a way to combine two of those, it'll make a rather nice little 400 watt PA for 70 sounds, or a maybe 200 watt DVB-T transmitter, which is the plan. So without further ado, because I've probably bored everyone rigid, again talking about the same thing, and I don't know if Gareth's going to talk about that as well. He might do. I'll pass it on, and I think it goes to Richard, doesn't it? So Richard, over to you, and GI4 DOH G0MJW.
G0MJW with the group GI4DOH. Yes, sir, I am. Thank you, Mike, and glad to see I'm only down for one go this round. I think once is enough. So yeah, good evening all. It was a bit behind schedule and didn't really get myself organised, so I haven't thought of anything to talk about really, other than earlier on I did have trouble with one of my amplifiers a number of weeks ago. It seemed to stop working, and I thought, oh, the little resistor problem again with the Nokia UMTS thing. But I took a look at it earlier, reseated everything, and it's fine. So I'm back on the first one. It's always nice to have a spare just in case. I'm just checking that I do actually have audio there, and I haven't checked my own lip sync for a while. Mike, I know it has sort of changed from time to time with apparently me doing nothing. So I think I didn't get around to noting anything so sort of lost for words at the moment. I may as well pass it on round to you, Benno. I think this is your first time joining us. I did get confused a couple of weeks ago when I saw you on the wideband spectrum monitor, because I just worked PA3 FXB as opposed to FBX, and sort of mixed the letters round in my head, and sort of got confused because we had the name Benno there when the other one is Jan. So I'll pass it round to you. PA3 FBX with the BATC group. This is GI4DOH.
Sorry guys, I was a bit slow, and that was because I forgot to start the part what I wanted to talk about. I was here before on the net already, but apparently you weren't at that time. Doesn't matter. Most of you guys know me already. Quite active on the set. Name Benno indeed. And Jan FXB I do know. I also know FEX, which is also a amateur TV station here in the neighborhood, who's also called Jan, so it's kind of funny. So kind of everyone keeps the same call sign, as lots in Holland change their call sign as well. Okay, anyway, what I wanted to show you today is something. Well, first of all, I wanted to show you something else. As we are talking about amplifiers, let me bring that up. Someone showed me that it was the known palette was available in Poland still, and then I walked around his nice site, and I found also this one, which is kind of double stereo mode, and it tells me a 400 watts amplifier. So I quickly checked, googled the working component, and I pressed order. So I get one of these, which looks fine and may be interesting for the next project. But that's just a side. There are still 6 available at the moment. So if you are still waiting for one, need of some high power, this might be an idea. It's only what is it, $70, so that's not too steep. Okay, and I wanted to talk about this. I was one of the lucky guys. Finally, after Dominic made us so jealous over the last few already months, I believe, showing that he was working on DATV Easy. And I wanted to play with DATV Easy, and I understand in the meantime why I didn't got it, because it was only mainly for the Lime, which had, well, difficult limitations for DATV, and as the Pluto has the nice software of Everest we all use, so there is not a real need in the first go of DATV Easy. But finally I got it only yesterday, and I started to play with it along quite extensively, and it works great. I'm very happy with it. The guys who know already the free stream coder probably recognize the layout. The guys who already know the Lime, have the Lime and worked already with the Lime on it, know completely the system. But I found some odds and issues with running on a Pluto, and the main thing there is that we have to go back to the original Adam Pluto firmware, real original Pluto firmware, and not any Everest. So do a DFU and go back with DFU mode to the original bare Pluto. That means also you will lose the PTT capabilities of Everest, and depending on which you want to use the what is it? Depending on what kind of power you want to use it, you want the older versions, because you will lose about 3 dB if you're going to the latest version 3.2 up. You will lose about 3 dB of power. If you are taking the 3.0 and 3.1 versions, which are really old, it works, and you have gained another 3 dB somewhere along the line, which is not perfect for the Pluto itself. As we know, it gets really hot. Okay, well, one of 2 issues I already connected back to Dominic about. One of the biggest issues, if you have, like me, a bunch of Plutos lying around, you will have a lot of problems, because it only can take one Pluto on one USB, and it cannot do any network Pluto or whatever. So we need some work on there. Dominic has some work on there, but that will be okay within the near future. Besides that, it really gives you the DVB-T directly out of here, which works great with the knocker. So you finally have an easy way of DVB-T. Don't need the DATV Express anymore for DATV, and it works straight off. A nice slide, and all the settings work, H.265, and even, which I also wanted to know, the video PIDs and audio PIDs I now can change to whatever I need. For the terrestrial I need 100, 102, 101, and that works straight off here indeed. So that's a big advantage. For the frequency option is you have you just press a button and you open a new button and you can select and then choose, enter, and then you are on that frequency. Or even if you want to go to the easy way, you get another screen which I cannot change. Why can't I change it? Let's see if I can quickly do that again. Ah, it's fixed on my other screen. So, shows you for the VHF and UHF frequencies as well. You can just button select the right frequency what you want to work on, and you have a nice power slider, and obviously a start and a stop button, and there you are. When you press the stop button it doesn't work obviously, and you need to start it again, which took me about 5 seconds, 10 seconds before I came on. I forgot to press the start when I got the microphone from the frequency from DOH. Okay, well, that's all for now. Microphone on to the next one, which isn't DOH again, but G4 SAQ. Leave the frequency to you. Let's see if I can turn myself back on the screen. There I am, and give me some kind of card so I know when to turn off. Greetings from Papa Alpha 3 Fox Bravo X-Ray.
Okay, PA3 FBX, this is G4 SAQ and the group. Okay, very nice to meet you on the air for the first time, Benno, and most welcome to the net. Mike, that palette looks really interesting. I think you said it was for 70 SEMS. Maybe you were talking about it last week. I don't think I was on last week. Indeed, I haven't been on the net very much at all recently because I've been very busy with my boat, which is out of the water for 3 weeks while I refit it, ready for the forthcoming season. The Bison amp, Benno, looked very good, and I was most impressed with the DATV Easy. It looks I've not heard of it until you mentioned it then, yeah, it looks like a very useful piece of software, so I shall have a look at that when I have time. I haven't been doing any radio at all for probably a good 4 weeks, but I have been, as I said, working on my boat, and I shall just bore you very briefly with one of the jobs I've had to do. I'll switch over to this picture. Inside the hull are various seacocks which allow water in and out of the boat as required, and the boat has got 2 toilets, heads in marine speak, and the heads have dezinkification resistant brass fittings, and These fittings are well, the boat is 34 years old, and I thought it was about time I changed them. So I did the ones for the forward head last year, and I've just done the ones for the aft head this year. What you're seeing there are the you're looking at the inside of the hull, and there are 2 plywood backing pads there. When I removed the old seacocks, they were a hell of a job to get out. I had to cut them internally to segment them and then bash them into the middle. And as I drove them out, the backing pads fractured away. And these are the new backing pads that I've made, and I've bonded in with epoxy resin. So the I can show you now the when I can get this up. There we are. Transition now. Okay, these are the seacocks actually fitted now, the brand new ones, but I haven't got the pipes on yet. The one on the left is the inlet to allow seawater to be drawn in, and the one on the right is the outlet pipe for the wastewater. So that took me quite a while to do, because the access is very, very limited, and you can barely get 2 hands inside. So to break away the old pads, I had to I had to make a long chisel out of a 1 meter piece of steel and grind a cutting edge onto it so that I could chip away from the outside. Having got most of it at work, I then get a sanding machine inside, and I attacked it with that. Okay, so enough of that. Let's come back to me. Right, and today I've been down there with my wife, and we've put the first coat of anti-fouling paint on. Every year the boat needs to be painted with anti-fouling paint to prevent marine growth, and it's an annual ritual that everyone who's got a boat knows about. Bit of a pain, but has to be done. So we've got the first coat on, and the second coat's going on tomorrow. So that's all I've been up to. Nothing radio wise to interest you with at all. And so with that, what I'm going to do is now put it over to G3IUZ Roger. Very good evening to you, Roger. I'm going to put up a test card, and then I shall drop carrier. So this is G4SAQ passing it. At least it will be when I find my test card.
Okay. Good evening all. Have I got audio? That's the thing. GW4K AZ. Yes, I have. It's just a delay in the system makes you think whether things are right, okay or not. Let me go on camera then, now that I'm through. I'm having to run a little bit more power this evening than usual. I'm not too sure why. And if you're hearing some in the background, then it's there's a fan running too close to the microphone, I think. Anyway, nice to be on after quite some time, and a very good evening to you all. I was rather amazed at Mike's amplifier there for 77s and the possibility of 200 watts. That's quite something, Mike, and DVB-T as well. And to Benno, nice to see you for the first time. And I'm located in North Wales, and the name is Brian. So first time we've worked you, Benno, and nice to have you through the machine and on the net this evening. And Russ, you seem to have been quite busy with the boat. That takes me back a few years, but yeah, the work on boats has certainly gone by, as far as I'm concerned, for about 15 years now. I'm sorry to hear no audio from you, Russ. Sorry to hear that one. Anyway, I'm through, so I'm very happy. I'm not being lazy, but I've been, thanks to Dave, GKQ, I've been converting a mini tune with a Serid tuner, and that is without the interface board that Mike designed some time ago, and the article in CQTV worked. Dave, so thanks very much for that. This is not mine actually. It's John, GW3JGA's. So I offered to have a go at it with him, and I'm also starting with my Ryde receiver. I got my was it Pi 4, and I've fitted a heatsink on it. I've been at it with the switching board, Mike, and the GPIO, so that's complete. And this week a 5 volt, 12 to 5 volt at 5 amp PCB came, and I'm looking at this thing, I'm wondering how's that going to handle 5 amps. But that's what they say, at 5.1 volts, so I'm rather, I hope it'll work, but with a lot of trepidation as to connecting that thing up, because these computers and what have you are black art as far as I'm concerned. The same happened with the mini tuner. A bit of trepidation whether the connections were right or not, but they did well, Dave. Thank you very much indeed. There is one question I have. I was looking at the circuit diagram of the GPIO board, and there's one resistor which is R4. It feeds the power LED, and it comes off the 5 volt supply onto the GPI board. And the resistor is 10k, and I thought that's a bit high. So I don't know. I have a feeling that something like 1k would work for me, but it depends on the LED, I suppose, at the end of the day. So it'd be rather interesting to know whether that is high or not, or whether the LEDs these days just take a few milliamps rather than well 10 or 20 milliamps, and will the Pi take the 20 milliamp load? That's another thing, I suppose, isn't it? Anyway, there we are. I've chatted enough. It's great to be here. and getting through the box as well. Very happy about that. So it goes on to M0 DTS. So over to you, and this I will not be transmitting again, but I will be monitoring. Okay, M0 DTS.
Right. Oh, we are on. Cool. All is well. I didn't even bother have a test card there. I was a bit keen. I switched it off before. Yep. So, good evening, everyone. This week I have mainly been not doing much, or mainly been doing nothing. Not really, but I don't really have anything to show. I've been doing more work on the van, but nothing of real significance, to be honest. Drilled quite a few holes and things ready for mounting gear on the roof, and getting the roof bars cleaned up a bit. Need to repaint them to put them back on. I fitted all the air ducting for the heater, the diesel heater in the van, so that's all in now. There's also a duct that goes into the cab as well, into the front. So on a cold morning, hopefully, I'll be able to just remote control, click it on, and it'll defrost the front for me before I go out to work. So that'll be handy in the winter. What else? I've plumbed in all the sink and the fittings for that and the hob. The gas situation is very I wouldn't say sketchy, but yeah, I need to look into that a little bit more. Luxury, yeah. Well, I'm just using the little tiny gas canisters, but with a little adapter on the top, so you can use just them in there. There's not room for a proper gas canister in there, so just using the little tiny things, and you can get little adapters that go on the top to give you the standard like gas fitting pipe output, but I just need a regulator to go in there and then it'll be good. 47 kilogram propane, yeah, wow. Could use the bottom of the propane bottle as a dish on 134 gigs or something, maybe. That could be it. That could be interesting. It'd be interesting trying to line it up anyway. I could put a sight, a crosshair, and a kind of like a pin on there to line it up. But yeah. Other than that, I'm playing around with a. Well, I want like a control panel as such in the van, so I can basically have all the van power, how much is on the battery, voltages, and things like that, status, and control of all the power switching with the mains and the battery and all that. And I kind of thought, well, I might as well have a Raspberry Pi in there and have a computer permanently installed rather than taking a laptop. So I've purchased a 15-inch touchscreen which has HDMI input and uses the USB down to the Pi for the touch part of it, and I've got that working quite nicely. So you can get them on eBay for, I wouldn't say they're cheap, but they're reasonable. Cheaper than elsewhere, but it's a UPerfect. If anyone wants to look at one, they're a UPerfect 15.6 inch touchscreen, and it's full HD. No. Don't go down that route. This is for other stuff. But one interesting tool that I found with it is, I don't know whether anyone's aware of this one, but there is a touchscreen keyboard which isn't automated when you enter text, but you can set it up and it leaves this little icon at the bottom here. It's called Onboard. So this little icon sits here and you can press that and then there's a lovely touchscreen pops up. I've set it so it goes semi-transparent when you're not really using it, but if you start typing on it, you can type something in there, test and send it, and then press the little cross at the top and the keyboard disappears. I thought it was a really nice one actually. So yeah, just a little on-screen thing and you can just get rid of it. So I've got that working quite nicely on there, but it's quite slim. If I can show you the side of it there, you can see the HDMI port on there. USB-Cs for the power and the USB to the Pi. It's even got the DVI or whichever port it is, I'm not sure. It's really slim, and it's even got 4 VESA mounting holes on the back for mounting it as well. So it's a nice thing, and it's got a really nice sort of thin bezel around it, and it seems quite solid. So it's an interesting one. So I thought I'd share that. There's a bit of work to do to get that going nicely to do what I want to do, but nice little screen anyway. And say it seems to work okay with the Pi. What else? So yeah, it is a little PA, that one, Mike. But yeah, it should be interesting. DATV easy, yeah. As Mike said, I think yeah, the pass-through mode on the latest firmware may be usable. I don't know whether you've tried that, Benno, but on the latest firmware for the Pluto, you can select it to pass through mode, and that might work, but no, just a guess. I haven't tried it, but the regular SDR software works with it, so it might just do that. To you, Brian KZ, you'll be pushing it if you get 3 amp out of one of them little DC power supplies. I think I'm using a couple of them, but I'm not really pulling 3 amp off them. I'm probably pulling 1 to 2 amp. But there's a diode near one corner of the board that gets really hot if you go more than about 3 amp. So worth noting. And watch the mounting holes on the corners as well, because there's the tracks that are really close to them. So you probably want to use M2.5s rather than M3. You probably won't get M3 in there. What else? I think that's pretty much. Oh no. This month's Dubus has got quite a few interesting things in it. Homemade dishes, ports down stuff with microwave on multi-bands for contest use. That's not focusing very well, is it? So lots of things in there. There's mentions of Langstone in Japan on lots of microwave bands and things. Yeah, interesting read anyway. I haven't finished reading it yet, but there's always good stuff in there. But there's a bit of DATV, ports down and Langston stuff in there, so good coverage. Right. I think that's pretty much it for me. I don't have a great deal more to add this week, so I'll probably not come on the next over unless there's any questions. And yeah, I'll put a link on the chat to that screen. It's a lot more than your regular 7-inch, but it is more than double the size, so there we go. Right, round to you, Colin. G4KLB, M0DTS and the BATC Net, and we'll probably catch you next week. 7-3.
Okay then, thanks a lot. That's it. That's worked.
Okay then. Thanks a lot.
All right. I'll
That's worked.
mute my audio. Okay. We'll have a different view of the shack today, just because we can. Okay. The lighting's not particularly brilliant here, but it's one step at a time, isn't it? Really. Very good evening. Yeah, good to see Benno on the net. I think he has been on before, as he said. I had a very nice QSO on QO100 with him last night. I'd come up to put in a signal into HV, actually, via the QO100 input. And I ended up missing half the HV net, having a chat with Benno, but it was very interesting. And we were talking about various PAs and bits and pieces. So that was very good. So I actually had a proper QSO for a change. So that was good. I just spotted that he'd got he was receiving my picture. So one thing led to another. Anyway, that was very good. So I'm not sure what was being shared at the beginning of the net, but never mind. Oh dear. So what have I been doing? I'm going to do a country fair. There's a farm that M1BAI works at, and before the pandemic, I was asked if I would put in an appearance. There's a multifunctional thing. One thing is I want to support the work that they do for various people who are perhaps disadvantaged, perhaps, and so it's a good cause, but also it will give a bit of exposure to it's a local event, so that'll be very good. And John had mentioned we were going to do some stuff into SQ and this, that, and the other. That was the plan of it. But he also mentioned in his email about possibility of QO100, and I thought, well, that would be a good idea. So I've been gathering the makings of a system to do on QO100. Perhaps mainly receive, and it'll only be very low power. So I've got I've got one of the the drive ramp I use. I've got a Spectrum driver, and I fancy I'd give that a go. So I've got to build that and put it in a box and go with that. I have got in before. Obviously, we have to be cautious about the new regulations and make sure we comply with everything. But so that means that the dish needs to go on the roof of the van, whereas it would be more convenient just to be by the side. But in order to keep it out of the way of people and have a little area fenced off and that, I'm going to put the dish up high, so that's going to make life a bit more difficult. And I finally got around to assembling this. You probably know at the minute I use a separate dish for transmit and receive, as I was determined to use the dish and the feed that I'd got, you see. So then that doesn't allow for an LMB to be stuck up the middle of it. So I've been putting this together, but I was quite interested to note from John G7JTT the mechanism of setting up this bit. I've pulled off the cap at the minute so you can see, and how it should be fitted, because I'd got the wrong end of the stick of how it should be. But it should the fat bit goes in about halfway, then you have to adjust that to make it fit. I'd misunderstood the instructions actually about that, and obviously that bit has to go on as well. So I'll be interested to try that. It's a very good fit now. I've redone the 3D printing for these. These are the old ones. There's the offset bit, and there's the bit that goes down. This is designed by Mike MJW to fit a bullseye, which that is, bullseye LMB, and you can shove your 22mm pipe down the middle there, you see. And this replaces the cap. You remove the cap and place that. You've seen that before, I'm sure. And I printed these ones on my printer, but I decided that I would favour it being done in ABS. And my lad has got a 3D printer in a cabinet, which is set up to do ABS. And so it's a much better fit now. He's pretty good at the 3D printing and the setting up. And now everything fits. It's nice and tight in there. Everything fits really well. There's no real movement on that at all now. It's quite a tight fit. So because nothing else holding that at all. So that's worked out rather well. So I'm looking forward to trying that actually. I've got this. I've bought another LMB holder so that I can quickly swap out. I've got another holder with just a bullseye in, so if things go horribly wrong, I can just these are sort of a quick release. They've got a little bit on the side. You probably can't see that because it's too black, but plugs in together. So we're keen to give that a go, and we'll have a little go at the portable. I think actually with this one I might redo that. That's an offset one. That's one of Mike's offset ones to lift this up, as a lot of dishes have issues with them hitting. But this is one that I soldered it all together, but it came as a kit, and it's got they're meant to be round, you see, but you can see the edges are flat on that, and that actually helps for this area here. And so I might be able to actually drop it down a little bit actually to get it back to where it should be. So I shall probably just print a standard one. I can't find the file at the minute, but I must have had it because I'm sure I printed one earlier. So we'll do another one. But I've made it out of ABS parts, and that should be better in the sunlight and this that and the other. So rather than the PLA, which this one is done in, it'd probably be all right in reality. But what the heck? I've got miles of ABS, so I'd just as well do it in that. But so that's what we've been getting up to. Quite a few other things as well, but in the main, that's mainly what we've been doing. Right, okay, yeah. So because 2 dishes for portable use is not ideal, I shall be taking the 1.2 meter dish, which might be ambitious, pointing wise, because that's a bit more tricky to do. I think Rob was saying that he doesn't go out with anything bigger than 1 meter for that reason. But nonetheless, we'll give it a go. I don't have a huge amount of power, you see. This one it's written on it. It says 20 watts at 2.01, and so at the frequency I'll be operating at, there'll be less than that. So this is the same stage I use as a driver stage in the shack here to drive the two Spectrum amplifiers that are joined together. But we'll have a go at that. And I have used the other one. You see, I have got into QO100 with that system, but that was all obviously set up reasonably well. So we'll see what gives with that. But I'll be looking at something for future use perhaps with a little bit more go in it. But I think at 1/4 it should be okay for a bit of portable operation. I don't want to run much power anyway, really. Right. Okay then, let's just see if there's anything going on there. Right. 2 hours okay, yeah. I've used in say this is from the Red Rocket LMB, which I think is a reasonable one. So I've had that in stock for many a moon. I hadn't fitted it on there. I was under the misapprehension that the first bit just went in, and it seemed a little bit wobbly. It didn't look like it was possible to push that in the hole there. But after a bit of cleaning out, it had a bit of glue actually on there already from previously, and so I very carefully cleaned it all off, and it looked like it was going to go. So I just got a hold of it and pushed it against the desk and just wriggled a little bit, and it went in. So it's tight. So adjusting that now is going to be very difficult because it's a really tight fit, which is good because it won't fall off. So there. Anyway, we'll have a little play with that. Fortunately, we can set that up in advance. I've got I've got a plan for putting a dish mount securely on the roof of the van, using bits of key clamp and stuff that I've found. The only trouble is I haven't found. It's only like scrap stuff that I've found, and so some parts of it require. Some parts of it are metric, and some parts of it are imperial, and so I've had to make sure I've got both sets of Allen keys available to put it together, because it'll be a bit of a mixture of bits, but anything to save a few quid. Oh dear, it'll be quite strong. It'll be quite strong, so it wouldn't be any issue there, but it'll be a bit of a game. But still, there we are. Yes, yeah. It's usually slightly too small, so it will be loose. Okay. Well, this was really tight, because I thought it just went in the end where it was loose. It was loose actually, very loose actually. But luckily John came up on SQ and gave me the information, and so it was the slightly fatter bit, the main body part of it, that has to go in, which I'd misunderstood. I thought it was just the first little ridge that went in, which was a bit floppy, but I thought, well, I can do something with that to make it fit, but actually it needs the whole thing goes in. So anyway, assuming that is the right thing, but it all fits perfectly now. Incidentally, we didn't make any changes to the STL file that Mike provided for this, but it fitted absolutely perfect. It's very tight actually. So whereas this one I printed was a little bit too loose, just a little bit too loose. But doing it in the ABS with exactly the same file, no scaling or anything like that done to it at all. It's brilliant actually. So that is tight as now in there. It's a really it will turn. I can just turn it. Look, see, because I just do the skew off a bit, but you can just turn it. But it is very tight. So it's absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Exactly what I wanted. I don't want to move it about too much, because it will become loose, obviously. So there we are. So that's very good. Right, that's enough for me, I reckon. So I didn't see who it was going to. I knew who I was following, but I didn't pay attention to who it was going to. But hopefully they have paid attention. So we'll go back. All right, then I'll put the test card on then. I was going to go back to the other thing. Oh, it's Gareth, is it? Okay then. So thank you very much for that. G4XAT to take it. I'm sure he's got something interesting to say. Yeah, that's it. G4XAT to take it. G4KLB.
I hear the fans, that probably means it's working. I hear the fans. Evening all, let's have a bit of picture. Thank you, Colin. G4XAT picking it up from G4KLB. That's a nicer camera, that one, Colin, I reckon. It's a bit more mellow. Okay, print it in TPU. That stuff's a bit strange, Mike. My printer doesn't like it, but I might have made an error the other day. I was trying to print a little sticky pad, and it wouldn't load or whatever. I didn't bother in the end. Okay, something interesting to say. Well, I'll leave you be the judge of that. My PC just crashed actually about 10 minutes ago. It hasn't done that for years. Been as good as gold, given the total lack of care that it suffers. Mine's not a bad one, it's a direct feed, but whatever. I have used it in the past successfully, so I suspect I'd chosen the wrong filament or something. Right, though I have audio, my C920 doesn't do video, which is why you're on the Polycam. So I'm just going to change cameras on the Polycam. There we go. Right, I've been down the machine shop today, or this afternoon in fact. I too have stripped the heatsink, which Mike showed earlier, which is very good of him because I didn't take a picture of the stripped heatsink. Now what we're looking at there, first of all, the enormous chunk of aluminium at the front. I'll just wander across. We got audio? Yeah, we've got audio. That, I gave it a fly cut to clean it up, and I can mount a pallet on that if I want to experiment a bit, because it's dead flat now. I was going to machine a groove, but time got the better of me. I thought, well, it doesn't really matter. And what you're looking at behind is pieces. Okay, so this one here is there's the pipes. Beautiful bit of gear. This is just for two of the non-copper plated pallets, but I'm thinking I'll stick that on an ordinary heatsink. And then what we're left with here is the pallets with the recess in them. Okay, they're double-sided, as you will see. So there's the original water inlet. There's the two side pipes. And there's one on the back that'll have to be blanked off. But the plan of these, at some point considerably in the future, is to make an O-ring coupling that'll allow those two to seal together, just to keep the water flow, and then fit 4 pallets on there, the heavier duty ones with the copper plate, and go for the moon. That's miles down the road, though. You don't need to worry about that happening anytime soon. Okay, let's transition to the other camera. No, not that. Camera. Camera. Thank you. That one. Yeah, that's right. 400 watts of DVB-T and more than the license permits watts of DVB-S2. Because you don't have to drive it that hard. He said with a grin. Last Saturday, some of you know that already, tested the 3.4 gigahertz gear and proved the little B-Sky B mini dish with a bipod. Works really nicely. Well, if you've got any engineering background, you don't want to hear how I did it. With the assistance of a colleague, we put the pallet, the aluminium thing, we put it through a bench saw with a TCT blade on it, mainly because the bandsaw was knackered. And it cut through it like butter. And then I squared it up on the mill and made them the same size and things like that. But work in progress, as they say. Still no news on whether it can be improved or used on 23 SEMs, but as and when, that information will come forth, I'm sure. Okay. The Tilt-O-Matic is finished, and 2 sets of bits have been sent out to beta testers, along with basic instructions on how to put it together. It looks remarkably similar to how it did before, but I've just solved all the issues I had with it and reached the point where I'm happy with it, so it can go wide. Right, I'm waffling, so test card time, and round to GU6 EFB from G4XAT in the BATC Net. Over.
Yeah, and then I just realised I had the test card on. I was just saying, hoping everything really went well and I had it was fault free, and then now I realised I had the test card on. Apologies to everybody. I did comment on the OB and lip sync being not very good. I've gone to Remix, which is works and is stable and keeps the lip sync. EGDVD DATV looks really good. I'm hoping to have a give that a go when it comes out. I find the free streamer coder working really well, so I'm using now. I had a bit of a disaster with my PC, and I had to send it back once again. So now I'm using the old PC, so I can't do hardware H.265 encoding. Good evening to Benno there. Good to see you there, and Brian. Good. And everybody else. I think that's about it. Yeah, KLB, the lens. I'm still having a problem. My lens, well, not problem. I did some work, and it was about 5 to 6 dB down when I first put it up, and then I started the point, and it didn't have a point in it. And now it's about 3 to 4 dB down. So I've increased the performance and look to do some further. That'll be the next job. With that, I'll say good evening, everybody. I won't come on again, and I'll just have to put my test card on purpose. From GW70 with apologies.
GW7BZY and the net. G8GKQ. Right. Yeah, I never actually saw anything other than your test card there, Pete. We got audio towards the end of the over, but I don't know whether anybody else got any video apart from the test card. I certainly didn't. But anyway. Right, let's talk about what I've been up to. Main activity actually has been portable stuff. So what I'll do, I will just try and do this. And hang on, let's go to that one there. And a bit of fade to that. And then you will see. So this was me up portable last Saturday, talking to Gareth G4XAT, who was 50 kilometres away in that direction. And as you can see, it was a lovely day and a beautiful view. Really nice. Slant polarization on the 2-meter aerial there. That's the view of the cables and everything in the back of the car with band viewer showing his 3.4 gig signal. It did actually get a lot better than that, but that was one of the humps. The middle hump there is Gareth on band viewer. That was looking towards G4LDR, straight through some trees, but he's more or less directly over the hill. And when I was trying to get into GB3SQ, that's more or less in that direction as well. So I didn't succeed in getting anything into GB3SQ on 23 SEMS. That's the dish I was using for 3.4 gigs. With the PA and transverter on the back there, the purple transverter. That's Gareth, as received on 3.4 gigs. As you can see, MER of 22, really good picture. 21 there. And yeah, so some really good pictures there from Gareth. Let's go back to the camera here. I've been doing some work on ports down, tidying up the receiver. That'll, oh, sorry. Bit of that. Sorry, I forgot that one. Tidying up the receiver software. A few little improvements coming to there, although a lot of them are just tidying up the code. And working on CQTV. It's good to see we have 41 viewers on the stream. That's really nice to see. Claudio, I see you are viewing on the stream. You put something on Facebook. Don't tend to respond on Facebook. If you put your request on the forum, I think you'll get a lot more responses about your ports down build. DATV Easy certainly looks good. That's come a really long way, Benno. Really good. Roger, interested to see the Spitfire model on top of your cupboard there. Unfortunately, we didn't get any sound, but really good pictures as usual. And the Spitfire looks great. Russ, some really good work on the boat there. It's a lot of hard effort, I'm sure. Brian, your GW4KZ, your audio was a little low. I can't really take credit for that Seret mod. That was invented by John, G7JTT. I just documented it, but John came up with the mod, but it really does work well. And my LEDs aren't as sensitive as Mike's, so I have to reduce R4 on my kit as well. 15-inch touchscreen does look great, Rob. I'm going the other way. I'm working at the moment, looking at putting this 5-inch one in a box, so getting smaller rather than larger. And I think the thing to show today is the copy of Jubus. Yeah, really impressed with that. Good to see references to both Portsdown and Langston. It's always good to be a quoted work. Colin, when you come to adjust the lens, set up that potty feed, I found I needed to adjust the lens manually for best response, and I got an extra dB by moving it around. And I then used some red tape red adhesive tape to put it in the right position, and nobody knows it's just held in by tape, and it's been there for 2 years and it's quite happy. So I think that's about all I've got to say. Time's getting on, so a quick lot of second overs. Round to Mike, G0MJW and the net, G8GKQ.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. Hopefully I've got some audio. That is the view in my direction to where you were for the contest, which possibly explains why it was a little bit difficult to work you. And any resemblance to any national flag is entirely deliberate, by the way. Okay. Lots of really interesting things being discussed in the net this week, and Gareth really interested in what you were showing there with the heatsink. I've got to see what I can do with mine. Back to some pictures. These are so in the box there are the rest of the pallets. Just the one on the desk that I showed earlier is out of there. So I've taken them all off now, and I have also pointed the Polycom at the heatsink. So I will point it at the not the heatsink, sorry, the thing that holds it, the water-cooled lump of aluminium that you were saying that you'd modified. But before I do that, I'm just going to point at this, which is in the bench camera. So that gives you an idea of what the device Benno was talking about is, and there were some mods. I think was it Benno? No, sorry, it was Keith, wasn't it? The mods for that, Frank ZS6 Golf Echo has got some mods that actually look at the computer control of the BIOS of that thing. So it is computer controlled BIOS, and it allows you to set the currents for the different devices. So if you can modify that, that's probably the right way to go to set the biosing. But the other way to do it is to do it in hardware. But of course, that's not quite the same. The effect will be the same though. Okay, let's just go to another view of this heatsink as well, so you can see what Gareth and I are talking about. It's oops, not very good at steering this thing. It's a very large 19-inch rack-sized water-cooled lump with the various pipes in it, and it looks like you could cut it up and do things with it. Now let me just zoom out a bit so that you can see it a bit better, and I'll give you some idea of perspective when I come and pick it up. So it is big, and it's absolutely beautiful in terms of its machining, and it's also incredibly heavy, so I'm going to go and put it down again. It's a really nice device. It's such a pity to take it apart, but you know, they sold at auction for under £100 each. I reckon they probably would have retailed for well over £20,000, something like that. So it's a pity that they're no longer. Oops, was I showing that? No. Let's try showing it properly this time. Let's try showing you the heatsink again. Sorry. They're very, very, very nice devices, and I think it's a pity that they were cut up. Well, we have to cut them up, but you know, that's the way it is. They weren't worth anything at auction, and that's what their value is, but they must have cost an absolute fortune. So it's great that we got those for the amateur market or amateur community. We've got to see what happens next with that, and how we deal with them. So back to the other device. The modifications, I think, that Jim suggests allow you to get more power out, and the modification of the bias make it a lot more efficient. So you need to do both of those. So that's I might do that with that one, but I don't really need another amplifier for QR100. So there we go. Okay, right. One thing I forgot to mention actually was that it's St Patrick's Day. I assume St Patrick's Day is celebrated in both parts of Ireland, so apologies if it's not, but congratulations on that, and hope lots of interesting things are going on. And I think I need to pass it then over to Richard to see what he has to add, and a few other things. Rob the van looks very good indeed, so good to see that. And yeah, lots of other interesting things. So GI4 DOH G0MJW.
G0MJW with the group GI4DOH. Am I there? Yes, I am. Yes, yesterday celebrates St Patrick's Day, north and south, no issue. Apart from the pokey little place where I live, I did go out to the local cafe this morning, as I'm wont to do, for coffee. There was nobody dressed up or anything like that, and neither was I. So it sort of passed peacefully and all the rest. But yes, indeed, it was St Patrick's Day, but it didn't have a big impact on my life. Dave, when you mentioned the activity weekend, last weekend, just reminded me of why I couldn't think of what I'd done radio-wise. I was actually operating as GI6XX in the Commonwealth contest last weekend, as indeed I was in the 80 metre club championship last night, so that sort of totally frazzled my brain. But Dave G4 FRE, who I see on the side, I worked him on, or during both contests on CW there, so I was doing radio stuff, just not the ATV or anything up at the higher end of the spectrum. What else? Yes, the nice looking pallets. They're very, very neat, but I'm totally out of it when it comes to all this heatsink stuff and water cooling and all the rest that Keith, Gareth, and yourself, Mike, are doing. I have a lot to learn with that. I'm not that good at metalwork, so maybe need to improve in that end as well. It's been a lot of new things for me as I've sort of moved up from the HF bands a bit, and certainly keep me occupied. I got my Dubus to read like everybody else, and again on the issue, Colin, and talking about the getting radiators to go on or feeds to go on a Trax dish with this sort of mount. I seem to recall I just hacked that with I think a quick heat soldering iron or something like that. That was my original thing that I used for the narrowband Q100 before I sort of got the ATV stuff working. So that was all good fun and a bit of metalwork. The other thing that I've been working on, I decided to spend a bit of time and just work out how to get a plug on LDF 450 without cutting my fingers and in a way that the plug doesn't twist on that. I actually came across a nice little YouTube thing where a guy, instead of using a knife or a saw to cut the outer on the heliax, he used a pair of pliers to sort of twist it back like opening a tin and the rest. And it's quite good because you're sort of putting the stuff to the outside as opposed to crushing it inside and all the rest. So I did that a couple of times and I think I've sort of mastered that. That's all part of cutting down losses on the way out to the 23 centimeter feed for AME. See if I can get 22 watts at the feed point as opposed to 20 watts at the feed point. It's all good fun. I didn't know anything else there. Yes, Russ, the anti-fouling, just coming up on 30 years ago, thinking, because it's the younger daughter's birthday next week, my wife went 2 weeks overdue with that. So she was over 9 months pregnant when she would always do the finer points, the boot top line and the nice trim between the boot top line and the main anti-fouling and the rest. So she was out wielding the paintbrush and TBT anti-fouling and all the rest while 9 months pregnant and all the rest. Those were the days. But yes, very much a seasonal thing. This time of year you have to get the anti-fouling done. And the other thing, Colin saying using ABS, I was just looking at the little range Ryde I have over the dual feeds for the dish for Q100, and it's been there for over a year now and it's not showing any signs of weathering. So ABS does last a lot longer than some of the other things. It is a bit of a pig if you don't have a cabinet, but I've got a cabinet now and it's not such a big problem. So probably, and oh yeah, Rob, the touch screen, that looks very nice, and the widget, the keyboard widget as well, that's very nifty and very appropriate for something fitting for fit for purpose. Enough for me tonight. So I wish you all 7.3s and scan my list here. Oh Benno, yeah, I meant to comment on the DATV Easy. It's an interesting thing, maybe something for me to play with. I do have a ruggedized Pluto sitting here needing to be put into action some way, so that's I must take a more serious look at that. So on round to you, Benno. PA3FBX for the BATC group. This is GI4DOH.
Yeah. Quick over. Let's turn some camera. Okay, just a quick over because it's kind of late here. My daughter has just went to bed, and I wanted to just slightly comment on some things. First of all, F5 OEO, no, really no, not the pass through, because it really doesn't recognize the Pluto. It really needs the original firmware. I've tried quite all the options before I went back to the original firmware in the end, and that works straight off. Well, that's 1,000 kilo samples max. It goes down to 25. So maybe you will have to give them a new receiver for that local repeater, because kind of 4 megasamples of data over the ham bands is not doable and not needed anymore, as we every show every day. For Keith, just sent me a mail. I told you it has I2C control. So you can do a Arduino I2C control window and control the BIOS and control also some temperature readouts. So that's very nifty, but in the end you don't need it. You want it always at the same bias. You always you don't need the complete Arduino control. Just put the bias on the certain amount which we want in our very linear systems, and in the end it's doing a hardware mod is quite much more easier than doing the I2C control mic. So the mods you can get, Keith, if you send the mail to me, I will answer it shortly. Okay, then next, I think that's all. Mike, if you don't know what to do with the extra pellets, there is always room in my shack, and I really need some high power for 70 centimeters. I can go up to 30 watts, which is sufficient for now, but I believe I really need a little bit more of the power on 70 centimeters for the ADV when I want to do real contacts on terrestrial Earth. Okay, well, that's all for now. Greetings to you guys, and hope to meet you again. See you over maybe next week or somewhere else during the band search. Bye bye from Papa Alpha 3 Foxtrot Bravo X-Ray Mike on to G4SAQ.
For Rob.
Okay then, I was waiting for...
I thought it would be Rob before me, but anyway, I'm here now. So we shall see. I didn't know if Rob had said he was coming back on for another one or not. Anyway, you can say on the chat if he's still there. Okay, right, I'll try to make this quick if I can. Yeah, okay, Mike, on the... I found another one. I found one of these ones, and if I take it off... That's a virginal one. It's not anymore. I can see that the very inside ring actually it isn't attached. It goes in, but the fat bit is only on a little bit. So I think I've got mine on too far. I've pushed it in too far, I think. JTT was saying about halfway he found his was about the optimum. So I think that one's going to have to come out, or I'll try this one possibly. It's the same, it's exactly the same sort of arrangement. I wasn't sure if Dave was suggesting whether the whole thing was adjusted, or whether this. I had thought that it was this bit here that was an adjustment, but it may not be. But this one is only in a little way. It is in, but it's only in a little way. It's only in a little way. You can see there that the first bit is loose. The first little ridge, if that's going to focus, you're not going to focus, are you? The first little ridge didn't is not attached to it at all. But the other bit is. It just goes in a little bit. So if I go for something similar to that, there's actually a mark on there for where that lines up, and that's held in on the outside. Yeah, that's it. It goes a certain way up. It's actually keyed, so whether that's important as well, I don't know, but I'll just make sure that bit's at the top just in case. Yeah, okay, so that's the same thing, but it's just a different colour, I think. That's the only difference with that. This is a Venton one, but it's all you could get. These you can still get these, but you can't get the red ones. They've changed the design. Okay, that's that. Needs to be the same as it was. The two parts should be together. Okay, so there's an end stop there, so that's as far as it goes. And that is only in, like you were intimating, it's only in a little way. It is in, but it's only in a little way, whereas I've pushed mine in too far, I'm pretty sure. I might do some tests with it that way, and then it's going to be very tight to get out. I'll have to be very careful not to. It's going to be difficult to get back out, but if I'm just a bit of caution and maybe just warm the tube just a tiny bit, just to give it a little bit of a chance there, just to expand it a little bit. Not much heat though. Okay, so thank you for that information. That's going to be, because it is critical where it is. Logically, it would be the same as it is in this. Logically, I doubt if the length of I was thinking it was done to match it, but I don't know if the length of tube is particularly relevant. If it's acting like a waveguide, I don't suppose that length is has any bearing on it really, but maybe it does, because if you have to adjust it, then maybe it does. But obviously the length of this tube is random. Actually, I've cut this one down, so yeah, that's the thing. Right, okay then. So that I'll experiment with that, because it is important to get it right, because it can make a reasonable difference. And then finally, the other thing I've been doing is a little bit of mechanical work. I managed to get hold of a great big heatsink, and I've hacked it down. This is for a PA. There seems to be a lot of PAs being built at the moment. So I managed to get two of these. I think I've got a quick thing. This will be the last thing though, because it's getting late now. Yeah, that's one of the ones I've just shown. Out of that giant heatsink. It's criminal to cut a heatsink really, but it had to be done. So we got two heatsinks out of it, and what I used to chop that was I found this I found this saw, and the tip of the day is a little squirt of WD-40. Seems to work wonders, absolute wonders. So that's pretty good. Okay, so that's that really. I've spent long enough now. So I'm pretty pleased with how this actually worked out. I mean, it fits this box, and I cut it to fit the box, so obviously it fits. Obviously it fits the box. But yeah. So for the price of not too much, we managed to we can build two PAs with this heatsink. So that should be absolutely wonderful. Right. Okay, and we've got the other boxes as well that we've got. Oh, WD-40 was used extensively to cut yours. Okay then, yeah. Oh right, yeah, that's right. But yeah, I found without the WD-40 or appropriate lubricant, the blades on that saw within seconds were completely clogged with aluminium, and it wouldn't cut anymore. I think, what's going on? It's not cutting. It didn't really fit on that saw very well. I had to do two cuts, one side and turn it around and do the other side, and I had to take all the clamps off and everything to make it fit. It was a bit of a thing really, but it did it. Made it smaller initially with an angle grinder with a disc cutter, but that was a bit of hard work really. We're a bit short on machinery, that's the trouble. But anyway, Yes, it would melt, and it did melt. It did melt, and just filled filled everything almost immediately. But just a little squirt of WD seemed to be the bit of a discovery. I've used for non-ferrous. I use well, paraffin or white spirit sometimes, because that's usually what it's about. I haven't really got any paraffin anymore. But there we are. Right, okay, that's enough, because I tend to go on. So yeah, or white spirit. Yeah, I use white spirit usually, but the WD was the business. I only needed one little squirt on each side of the blade, and it would do the entire cut with no problem, and also takes a lot quicker. It's a lot quicker, obviously. Oh, olive oil. Okay, there we go. Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's different sort of things like for ferrous and non-ferrous. Right. Okay then. Sem3s then. Oh, he's laughing at the bit I go on, I think. Okay then. Sem3s then. G4KLB. Was searching for the test card. There it is.
Right, we're on again. Thanks, Colin. G4X18. Come on, lock your swine. Right, we're on again. Thanks, Colin. Good. Okay, right. Let me just transition. I won't bother with a picture of me since we're scooting along here. That's an SD card reader which arrived earlier this week. That's now fitted in my weather box and works. Wrote some data to it and then checked. That's nice. This is for Noel and Dave, who know who they are. This is looking at the underside of the brake mech on the tripod thingy. And in the background you can see the ball race and the bit of plywood which rests across the bar and stuff. Okay, that's the underside. That's your tilt wheel assembly. That's a better view of the underside of the tripod. You take one of those out and you replace it with this assembly here, but you retain the clamping device that gives you the leg friction. And yours, although they've got the facility for that, if you haven't got a handle for that, it doesn't need it. You just need the hand wheel. And that's a blurred video, but I won't bother boring you with that. I'll go to a camera. There we are. If you want to know more or see more, Dave and or Noel, I can run it after the net if you want, or I can put the video on YouTube as I said I would. Where's the comments? I'll make sure. Right, okay. Some of those pallets will appear on the market, but if you look at the input and output lines on them, they've got matching capacitors, and there's some investigations underway by Jim to see if we can improve the match on 437, because they're only designed for 470 upwards to 850 meg or something, which would improve the efficiency, which isn't bad. It's a lot better than the 13 sems amps. But might wangle a bit more power out of them. But somebody bought 20 of those, so they've got 20 times 12 of those pallets. And whether they're going to use them to transmit digital TV or whether they're going to break them up and flog them on the surface market, I don't know. But I'm sure there'll be more. You just got to keep your beady eyes open. It certainly is an amazing bit of gear. I mean, they were built in 2017, and as Mike says, goodness knows how much they paid for them. I'd be surprised if it wasn't a lot more than 20k, because the machining alone, that copper pipe is cast into the aluminium, which is then machined all over the whole pallet. Obviously on a machine, because they're all the same, but whatever. Right, okay. I've lost who's next. I think it's round to our Guernsey contingent. So I like your wobbly cam. That's good. And stainless steel box. I don't like stainless steel. It's evil stuff to work. But so is aluminium a bit. It depends very much on the alloy, whether it saws or machines well. I'm sure most of you know that anyway. Right, okay, so without further ado, quick bit of test card, GU6 EFB to pick it up from G4X80 in the net. Over.
Yeah, okay, Gareth, thanks for that. We're kind of living down here in Guernsey. If it's not 316 marine grade stainless, you'll be sweeping it up before you finish the project. Yeah, kind of anything aluminium, steel really doesn't last very long down here. Yeah, the island gets washed with seawater regularly, and I live right in the centre of the island, and quite a few mornings just recently with the winds we've had to wash the car down and clean the windscreen to get rid of all the salt off of it. So yeah, it's a problem. Okay, Benno, I've sent you an email. Thanks for the info. Yeah, look forward to seeing what you were getting up to there, and thanks for the advice. I think Dave was mentioning about Roger's nice Spitfire, which I saw. Also sat there, looks very good. And I don't know what on earth was going on today, but had the living daylights scared out of me because I wasn't expecting it. But we ended up with, I think they were French, they looked like either Mirages or Raphael jets, and they were certainly giving it some beans, and they were only at about 500 feet. Absolutely very, very loud, especially when you weren't expecting it there. So I don't know what all that was about. Halfway through the net I had an interesting phone call from my son-in-law, saying the business that he works at, they are getting rid of everything in the electronics department. So there's oscilloscopes, signal generators, analog meters, digital meters, and it was all going in the skip. He said, what did I want him to do with it? And I said, put it all in the back of your car and bring it round to my place, and we'll put it in the shed and we'll sort it out later in the week. If it's got to go in the skip, I'd rather I did it, but yeah, there's even bubble etch tanks and wash tanks and all sorts for PCB manufacturing. So goodness knows what's quite going to arrive here either later on today or tomorrow there, because he'll probably want to get rid of it out the back of his car. He might even borrow the works van and bring it all round. So yeah, maybe some stuff to share there if any of it's any good. Okay, right, I think it goes back round to GW7BZY, so round to you from
Hopefully the audio. Yes, I think I am on. I can see that my signal's picking up, although I'm not receiving any video here for whatever reason. I only have 264 as it. Okay. There we go. Audio. Hopefully some audio. I'm not really hearing any audio, but I think there will be audio, so we're going to just check that this time for sure. Yeah, I can hear audio, so I'm on the screen on that. Okay, and I've got to go with it, so there we go. There you go. Yeah, just a DW7BZY, finally getting on. Various one calamity after another, isn't it? You know what I mean? Nothing new there, I suppose. Good evening to everybody. Everything really interesting. The Easy DV DATV looked really interesting. Ryde RX and Brian, they're looking forward to having a go at that myself at some point in the very near future. Good to see Benno there, because my first outside of UK contact. We'll need to sort out my lens and my pottery as well. I think I roughly fashioned a bit of a point on it, and it increased the gain by about 3 dB, but it was about 5.5 down. So quite a bit more work needs to be done there. So I will be following what KLB is doing there, and at some point hopefully somebody, otherwise they're sitting with the stone in the background. I just see my delayed video. But that's about it. Everything else, good night to everybody, and hopefully see you again sometime soon. From DW7BZY.
GW7BZY, G8GKQ. Great, Keith and Pete. Good to see pictures from you there. The audio wasn't the clearest in the world, but the pictures looked excellent. Nice to see an image with no noise on it. Really good. The catering service is far better than I've come to expect. Brilliant. Well, those PAs certainly look very impressive. Look forward to seeing those on 70 SEMs. Certainly your signal on 23 the weekend, Gareth, was amazing. Lots going on. So thank you all for coming up on the net tonight. Hope to see you all next week. And don't forget, keep planning for the activity weekend in April. And the main objective has got to be to get on the air on the contest in June. Get as many of us out as possible to increase the points score and keep the bands in use. So good night to you all, and see you next week. G8GKQ closing the net, leaving the frequency clear. Thanks for all your contributions.